Would you consider yourself a visionary or like an integrator, like a workhorse or a visionary?
So I'm for sure a visionary,
Yeah.
but I also have work ethic because my uncle, when I was growing up, I was 13 years old, I was working on the job sites in real estate.
Yeah.
And I've always had the vision, because real estate, you have to have a vision, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was taking dirt and converting it into something we were living in them, right?
Yeah.
He sold most of those homes, but I always had, and I always start with the vision, but I am so willing, and that's what I do every day. Like as far as the operations at Cardone Capital, I am in the trenches, I am in the weeds, because I think a vision without the actual elbow grease and the time, energy, and effort to do it, it's a fail. It's a fail. It's a complete fail. So I've got this great balance because obviously I work. Grant is a complete visionary. He's got a lot of great ideas. You have to implement them, right? So there's a time and a place for both.
Yeah.
But look. The vision, we're at 15,000 units. The vision is to go to 100,000 units, and Grant and myself are completely on board with Elena Cardone, right, his wife.
Right.
So you have to have that vision. You all have to be visionaries, but then you also have to have the people who are the workhorses, which I raise my hand, I am.
Yeah.
And so it's a good balance.
Yeah. I think what's really impressive about you is like you look from 20 to 30, you acquired a number of doors. So you had like 20 something doors from that time.
21 units,
Yep, 21 units. And then you went from 30 to 40 at.
Well, hold on. That was how many units?
So 21 units. So it was like 6 or 7 properties.
At what age?
30 years old.
At 30 years old, while being a full-time pilot.
Yeah.
So like the real estate was in your blood before you met Grant. So I always like to point that out. Like it's a cool story. You were a real estate guy before on your own.
Yep.
You just sought out Grant to use a pun,
I was going to get 100 units, because when I think everybody tries to start too big, and it's not a fail. I mean, if you have all the materials, if you have the know-how, you can start bigger.
Yeah.
But when I wanted to go get 100 units, I was looking at 40s and 80s and 90s, and this was in like 2012, 2013. What happened was I called the debt broker, and I'm like, hey, I've got this great deal, and he's like, well, what's the DSCR?
Yeah.
And I'm like, DSC.
Call you right back.
I was like, what do you mean DSCR? He's like, well, Ryan, it's the debt service coverage ratio. And I'm like, well, let me go look that up, and then let me get you the number. Like, because I didn't know, there's so many angles in real estate, right? Because once you're at the level that we are, the debt broker actually works for me now. They work for us, you know. The broker, they actually are an advisor. They work for you. So I always thought that I needed to know everything. Like, oh, what's the NOI and what's the expenses and what's this? Like when you start tapping into all these resources, it becomes much easier. But to your point, I was going to do it hell or high water. I was going to get into 100 units, 200 units, because that's what that's always been my vision. And I was studying Reg D also, which is crowdfunding. I was going to the real estate guys, the syndicators. I was going to Reg D classes when I was 26, 27 years old. And the craziest thing in the world that always surprised me, but it was so weird. Like in Reg D 506B, you cannot do general solicitation, which is like social media was coming out, and you can't go on there and say, hey, I got this great deal. And I was like, well, why not? And then the Jobs Act passed in 2014 and then 2016, and they started having these revisions to it where you can start using general solicitation. So when I was on Grant's team and we're doing our real estate deals, and then this thing started getting bigger and better and faster, I was like, dude, at the time, he had like 10 million followers. And he had these great deals. I was like, if we can combine the two.
That was your idea.
We started off with our first deal was $20 million. We raised 6. Grant didn't actually want to raise money from, he had a couple of friends and family, but he thought that raising money from investors was going to be more of a pain in the ass than the reward. And, for me, I was actually solving for myself because I wanted to invest with Grant. And at first he let 1 or 2 guys and a couple of friends invest with him. It wasn't like a completely wide open thing. And I was like, man, I really want to invest with you. And not only do I, but a bunch of people want to invest with you. Because when you see the deals that we're doing, it's like, it's a no-brainer.